Welcome to IYR Talks. We are aware of the costly incident at Pahalgam, and India has, as expected, reacted to the incident and has taken a series of decisions as a response to that incident, which is sponsored and supported by our neighboring terrorist country, Pakistan. Though there are a number of measures that India has taken, the most important one was about the Indus Water Treaty. They kept this treaty, which was arrived at in 1960 between Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Field Marshal Ayub Khan at Karachi, brokered by the World Bank. That has been kept in abeyance, and it has sent immediate shock waves in Pakistan. This abeyance, the Pakistani government called it as a threat of war. Why is it so important? What is the background to it? Let's just examine. Of course, as we know, these are 5 rivers, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, the other 5 being the tributaries of the main river Indus. And Punjab gets its name from this, since there are 5 rivers and the land that lies between them, Ab. If it is between 2 rivers, it's called Doab. Since it's between 5 rivers, it's called Punjab. When British India was there, of course there was no Pakistan, there was no India, there was a united Punjab. They wanted to have an irrigation system to encourage cultivation of commercial crops like sugarcane, cotton, etc. Taking the Punjab as one unit, they constructed the headworks on these 3 tributaries of Indus River, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, and built up an extensive canal network in western Punjab, which is now part of Pakistan. So the water releasing points are in India, the water cultivating area is in Punjab. The moment India was partitioned and Pakistan was created, the distribution of Indus water became a bone of contention, and there was no settlement on that. We are the upper riparian and they are the lower riparian. So upper riparian will always have an upper hand with reference to rivers. When this was becoming an issue, an engineer from an important engineer who played an important role in construction of dams in America visited India. I think his name is Little or something. He came here. He visited both Pakistan and India, and he had an agenda. There were 2 agendas. One, find out a solution to this river water problem between both these countries, and also in those days America was afraid of spread of communism in Pakistan and India, and they wanted to counter it. And one of the ways they wanted to do that was by assisting in settlement of some of these inter-country disputes. He visited India, he visited Pakistan, got a good reception, and went back and sent a report that this can be a flashpoint, and what he suggested was joint development and management of this river basin so that both the countries can gain. And he gave an idea, a mediation here role can be played by World Bank. So World Bank came in stating that yes, we are willing to play the mediating role, and negotiations went on for years, and finally a settlement was reached in 1960. When this settlement was reached and this agreement was signed in Karachi, both by Nehru and Field Marshal Ayub Khan, the division was not in terms of allocation of water, but more in terms of allocation of rivers. The western rivers, that is Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, these 3 were allocated to Pakistan. The eastern rivers, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, were allocated to India. Since the canal irrigation system in Pakistan was dependent on the eastern rivers to delink it The connection was to be given from western rivers, and some funding was required, and that funding the World Bank has provided. On this basis, 80% of the water was allocated to Pakistan, 20% was allocated to India. It was quite an unfair division, but that unfair division has facilitated by a thinking which was going on from the time of India's independence. Right from India's independence time, Gandhi and Nehru believed that this is one nation and one people. So when it is a question of Pakistan getting some advantage, they never minded it. In fact, Gandhi went on fast stating that the funds which were meant for Pakistan ought to be released immediately after the partition, though there was a massacre going on the other side. That was the mindset of Nehruji as well. But right from Allama Iqbal to Jinnah to recent that Pakistani general Asif Munir, they had tremendous clarity that these are two separate nations, two separate cultures, and there's nothing in common between Hindus and Muslims. So their country is theirs. So they played for their interests. So in the process, we have an unfair division of water resources of 80% going to Pakistan and 20% coming to India. This feeling that we have been unfairly treated and an advantage was given to Pakistan was always there, though this treaty withstood the 1965 Indo-Pak War, 1970 again another Indo-Pak War, and a series of terrorist attacks after that also, but still this treaty was honored by India. And of course, within the treaty, if there is a disagreement between both the countries, there is an arbitration council for which both will have to nominate the arbitrators, or a technical neutral expert can give his opinion. So this is the way it was going on. But once BJP came to power in 2014, they have been arguing and saying that this agreement needs a revision because of change in demography, geography, and climate, ecological issues, etc., etc. But at the time of Pulwama also, they threatened to suspend this treaty, but finally didn't. In between, India has built 2-3 major hydroelectric projects. One is Krishna Ganga, the other is Ratle. Both were objected to by Pakistan, and in one or two of them, even the technical expert appointed also raised objections, but just India ignored and went ahead with it. So now, finally, India has in between requested Pakistan for renegotiation, but Pakistan is not willing to come for renegotiation because they are aware that this particular treaty is advantageous to them. So today, when you suspend it, what are its implications? First, what is its legal implication? Can India suspend it unilaterally? Within the treaty, there is nothing written about suspension or renegotiation. But Vienna law of international law provides for renegotiating a law if there are material changes in terms of its implementation. So that's the one on which India is banking on to force for a renegotiation. Second, most of these international agreements stand when bilaterally both the countries are willing to go forward with it. If one of them is not willing to forward to it, there is no strong international mechanism which can implement it. That's happening with China also. China is diverting those rivers on its side, left, right and center, and India is not able to do anything about it. So as an upper riparian country, we always have an upper hand, there is no doubt about that. So that's where it stands legally. Then coming to what is going to be its impact on Pakistan immediately. Immediately there may not be a major implication because the eastern rivers, whatever is our 20% water that's allotted to us, we have fully utilized it. The 80% which is there on the western rivers, here also we may not be immediately able to utilize it unless you build a substantial dams and then start storing water. automatically they go to Pakistan. There's nothing we can do about it. But of course, some desilting, refilling to that extent, yes, which we were supposed to do in monsoon. If we start doing it in the lean season, it will definitely affect the Pakistan. There are two ways we can stop flows of this water to Pakistan. One, by building dams there or diverting them to other rivers within India in terms of a interbasin transfer. Here again, there are two major problems. The technological challenges, because when it flows, these three rivers in the western front flow through not plains but the hilly areas. So the designing and implementing and then the seismic problems possible are also there. Same thing also holds good for diverting the water to other basin as well. So immediately short term, it may not result in lessening of flows to Pakistan, but yes, in the long run it can have a damaging effect. That's why they have already termed this as a act of war, this keeping this in abeyance. So they are really afraid. They are really afraid, not so much because of the short-term impact, but because of the long-term impact. And I think definitely India will look for renegotiating this whole Indus Treaty project based upon after keeping it in abeyance. And that's an advantage to India, because any renegotiation is going to give us a higher share compared to what we already have it in this. So that's why this is a very, very major decision that the government of India has taken, and very required also given the type of a terrorism sponsoring that Pakistan is doing. Thank you.